Hi guys, welcome to this video. This is the follow-up video to the one I did earlier, which was Road to Doubles tournament. And the tournament has actually taken place now over the 2 days in the weekend. And I'll cut straight to the chase. We managed to come third, which was a good result considering. And as it was a very good tournament, to be honest. Really enjoyed myself. Our armies worked very well together, which is a good thing. One of the biggest problems was that at the size of the armies, at 2,500 points between us, we only actually finished one game. Although, strangely, that was the one that got to 7 turns. The first game got to 5 turns, and the two in between only got to 3 because, unfortunately, we had quite slow opponents. But, you know, by turn 3 you can usually see what's happening anyway, so it doesn't particularly matter too much. And yeah, we had a good time. But another drawback is that we didn't actually play the people who came first and second. But just to go over it, so the people who came first, they got they took Dark Elder and Homunculus Covens, and that was their entire army really. And it's a shame we didn't actually face those, because I actually fancied our chances against those with all those open top transports make some prime flamer bait. And I'm not too bothered about a few monstrous creatures here and there, personally. We had enough shooting to take care of those as well, so we could have done decently there. Second place one, I didn't want to play if I could help it. That was a combination of Tzeentch Demons and Necrons. And, you know, killing Necrons is tough at the best of times. Tzeentch Demons have a lot of psychic dice, and, you know, it wouldn't have really helped us too much, so I'm glad we didn't face those particularly. But yeah, they came second, and then, of course, we came third with the Space Marines and Imperial Guard. So I'm just going to go through the games and basically express what I learned and what did well, what didn't work, and all this kind of thing. So, the first game, we were playing against Salamanders and Orcs, and one of the things they had was the Gorkanaut. It had a big mech inside, lots of shooty weapons, you know, good close combat. Big squad of Gretchen, big squad of boys in a truck, big squad of boys on foot beside the Gorkanaut, and I'm thinking that's about it. And the Orc war boss was the Warlord. Space Marines had a big squad of Terminators. They had a Land Raider. They had 2 drop pods with tactical squads in. Each one had like a Flamer and Combi Melter in. Strange pair up in my opinion, but you know, whatever. And a Thunderfire Cannon. And there was another truck full of Burner Boys as well. So we didn't get the first turn. This was the mission where it was just a straightforward mission where you had 3 objectives cards every turn. So we played that, and we managed to win fairly convincingly. We won by quite a lot of points, which is good because every victory point in the game equaled a tournament point. So you know, every point we got was good, and that was our plan going into this tournament. Just get as many points as we possibly could. Didn't matter whether you won or lost. So yeah, but we managed to win anyway, so we got a bonus 5 points for that. The key moments of this game was that, first off, when the Land Raider kicked out all of the Terminators onto an objective, they managed to kill a Chimera. The thing is, after that, we just moved away. They were blocked in the middle of this terrain on all sides, and then I had the perfect shot down with the Thunderfire Cannon. So I just kept shooting the weakest blast, which slows their terrain. And as it was causing a lot of wounds anyway, and they kept failing their pinning checks. So those Terminators were basically out of the game for the whole game. They were just stuck there, which really helped, to be honest. There was a lot of points to not be moving. One of the biggest challenges was actually dealing with the tactical squads, because most of our anti-infantry was Flamer templates, and of course Salamanders reroll their saves against that, so we were trying to use everything else, like the Wyvern and the Thunderfire Cannon, and just random other shots, and it wasn't quite working out. They were doing pretty well, but in the end, we managed to whittle them down. And the Rough Riders didn't come until turn 4 because they were in reserve, and when they came on, they managed to kill one of the tactical squads, so that was good. So they did their job pretty well there, at protecting the back lines. The other most crucial part was the fact that when his big truck full of boys got out with the Warlord, they charged at our big guard blob squad, and of course he got all his Overwatch, killed a bunch of boys, and then he got his reroll to wound off on the priests. So he was rerolling to hit and to wound, and basically they wiped the Orc squad in combat and got Slay the Warlord. So that went really, really well. And at that point, you know, they'd lost so much that it was pretty much over. I mean, the speeder burnt all the Gretchen, and you know, so that went pretty well. But it was a fun game, and yeah, we ran out of time at turn 5, but you know, it was going along nicely, so we did pretty well. And we scored 18 points for the very first game. I can't quite remember what our opponents got, but I believe it was 4. So 18-4 for the first game. Now the second game was the last game on the Saturday. This was against the combination of Grey Knights and Tau, and this was much more of your typical power list. So you had your Riptide, you had your Broadsides, you had your Crisis Suits, you had 2 squads of big squads of Pathfinders, and you had 3 5-man squads of Fire Warriors, and Longstrike and a Hammerhead. And obviously his whole plan was to sit back and shoot. And coming forward, you had the I forget what they are, but the Jump Infantry Grey Knight squads, squad of Purifiers, big squad of Terminators again, and 2 Dread Knights. And this game we lost. We lost it 11 points to 4 in the end. And honestly, the reason we were discussing this afterwards, and we realised that afterwards there wasn't actually much more we could do. It was purely the thing that really swayed it is whenever we should have been able to kill something, like for instance the Dread Knights, there was one on the left flank which was basically on 1 wound for the entire game, and we just could not hurt it. Despite all the AP2 and the high strength things we're throwing at it, just could not hurt it. It just would not die. Or we were missing, or we were failing to wound, or all sorts of things. It was just terrible rolls. And coupled that with the fact that we were getting ridiculous objective cards, because this was Cloak and Shadows one, so it was 3 objective cards a turn, but you hide them from your opponent. But because of that, we weren't scoring any points until the last couple of turns of the game, and by then it had taken us so long to kill the things that should have died earlier. Then you know, we struggled, and we spent a long time like thinking about that game afterwards and anything we could have done to really help. And honestly, there wasn't much. There was one mistake, and that was when the big Terminator squad Gate of Infinity right into the back lines. I was very tempted to, well, I had a choice. I could charge a lone Tau commander with my Chapter Master, or I could drop an Orbital Bombardment. Because of the severe nature of what's going on in the back lines, I tried dropping the Orbital Bombardment. It scattered off, it didn't do anything, which meant I wasted my chance to charge, and then I was stood in the open the next turn, and despite having a 2-up save, I rolled so many 1s that, you know, Chapter Master was done, which really let it down, which was a shame, but these things happen. So again, it was honestly the dice and the cards that let us down the most. But even though we lost, we were still trying to get those points, so we tried to get any points we could. But as I say, with the cards we had, it only came to 4 points. The good things that happened in the game was that the speeders did a lot of damage to the Terminators, and the command squad with the Flamers completely wiped a squad of Pathfinders, and the other side, the Wyvern took care of the other Pathfinders, so there's only 2 Pathfinders left, which obviously I play Tau myself, and I know that Markalites are a very crucial resource for Tau. You just take care of the Markalites as soon as possible, and they really, really struggle. So yeah, that went pretty well in that sense. This was the first time the Wyvern had actually been able to shoot. It was the first target last time of the Salamander's tactical squad. People really wanted to kill that Wyvern quickly, and again it became a target early on. And this is kind of what we'd expected. So we had bubble wrap, well, not bubble wrapped it, but we'd put units around it to protect it against elite monsters and infantry. And of course they failed to do their job because of the rolls, as a shame. But yeah, after that we came back to the next game. I should say that last game only went to turn 3. It was taking a very long time. We had one of those opponents where they dispute every rule that you say and demand to see the rule book. So you show them the rule book and it's exactly as you said it, or they'll get a rule wrong and you have to tell them it's not that, and then they look in the rule book and they've got it wrong, and there you go. So it really bogs the game down when you've got a time limit. But yeah, so we only got to turn 3 as it was. But yeah, the next game we only got to turn 3 as well. However, this is more understandable because it was a combination of Tau and Tyranids, which is actually a decent matchup on paper. But there was a lot of models on the board with both our armies combined. And here we got the first turn for a change. This was the one where you got more objective cards the longer the game went on, which obviously, considering it only went to turn 3, didn't really help us in terms of the tournament. If we'd have finished it, we might have got a lot more points, but we won anyway. And our first target was the Hive Tyrant, which we took down to 2 wounds, but he made all his regeneration rolls throughout this game, and we couldn't quite finish it off. And as soon as it took to flying, it wasn't really worth shooting at, despite the fact that we had a lot of points tied up if we were able to kill it. But in the meantime, I basically tried to take away the backfield. There was 2 6-man squads of Pathfinders in this game, and I burnt them and Thunderfire cannoned them both. So there was only one Chasui Pathfinder left on top of a building, and he was pinned for 1 turn, and then he missed all his Marklights after that. So kind of funny that despite facing so many Pathfinders and Tau, we only actually ended up getting hit by 1 marker light in the entire tournament, which is kind of funny, but there you go. Very squishy. After that, there was some good close combat going on. The Scout Sentinel did well, managed to kill the Tau commander. We basically were able to whittle all of the enemies down enough, and the Chapter Master did very well in Assault, despite being on 1 wound for most of the game. Finally started recovering some wounds with It Will Not Die, and then managed to hold up a bunch of other things, including Carnifex. And in the meantime, we were just grabbing objectives, which was the plan all along. And yeah, that went pretty well. So despite taking some losses, it was going pretty well. In that game, I believe we won 11-4, so not too shabby. And then the final game was easily my favourite. It was also the only one we finished. It went to 7 turns. And this was against a combined army of Eldar and Grey Knights again. And yeah, I wasn't too worried about the Eldar, because again, I play Eldar myself. The Grey Knights, they had a big squad of Paladins with an Apothecary, and whoever the main character was, I don't know, Captain something, whatever the Grey Knight equivalent is, all in Terminator armour, of course. He had 2 other squads of Terminators with various loadouts. Some of them had Thunderhammers, some had the Falchions, and some had the Power Swords or whatever. One of the groups was in a Land Raider, one of them was in reserve, and the Paladins all started on the board. But they got the Gate of Infinity Power anyway, so they could move around. What else did he have? That was basically it for the Grey Knights. A lot of Psychers though. The Eldar, they had a Farseer as their warlord, and that was in a Wave Serpent alongside, what do you call them, the Wraith Guard with D-Scythes. There was a squad of 3 Dark Reapers. There was a squad of 5 Rangers with an Exarch. There was obviously an Exarch with the Dark Reapers as well. He had 3 units of jet bikes. 2 of them had 3 scatter lasers. The other ones had 3 shuriken cannons. And he had, I'm trying to think if there's anything else there. I know he had 3 flyers in a formation with the Exarch, so it was the Crimson Hunter flyers. And so we managed to get first turn again. This was probably the most one-sided match we had. Basically, we had the perfect setup to deal with this, but there was some cool stuff that happened. So the first thing that really went in our favour was we had to kill a character for our first victory point. I should say this was the opposite of the last game. So this is the one where you start with 6 cards on the first turn and you drop down as you go on. So we had a chance to get a lot of points here. So anyway, I dropped the command squad down with the Flamers, burnt the Rangers because we needed to kill a character. Managed to kill the Exarch. Obviously they weren't getting any saves, and got first blood as well. Realised fairly early on that we needed to kill the Dark Reapers, so even though there's only 3 of them, I fired the Thunderfire Cannon at those and just got as many hits as I possibly could. And managed to wipe that squad because I had my bikes forward. I don't want those shooting at me and ignoring the Jink and my save. So pretty scary even though it was only 3, and you know, just taking them out because it's a long range shooting thing. Got rid of them. The Wave Serpent we basically ignored early on because it was well defended. Our plan was to target the bikes, the jet bikes, because we didn't want those seizing objectives and things, and obviously being troops, you know, we didn't want that to happen. So I think we took a couple of pot shots at the Land Raider, managed to get a las cannon glance on it. Otherwise seized objectives, and with the jet bikes, with the Wyvern and other long range shooting, we got ignore cover off on the big blob squad as an order, and fired at the jet bikes with all the las cannons, so I managed to kill a bunch there. In the end there was only like about 3 jet bikes left across 2 different squads. And then their turn rolled around, and the Land Raider was a Redeemer, and I'd put my bikes really near it, and everyone was like, ah, no, that's a really bad idea. And I have to admit, I didn't actually tell my opponent what I was planning, but I'd positioned them so the Chapter Master was slightly further forward. And so when he moved the Land Raider into attack with the Flamestorm Cannon, because it's massive amount of bait, let's face it. I mean, who doesn't want to wipe a bike squad with your Flamestorm Cannon, killing on freeze, usually. But because the way I'd arranged the unit and the way he positioned the Land Raider to be able to fire both of the Flamestorm Cannons, it meant that the Chapter Master was the closest one. So he caused, let's see, he caused a total of 5 wounds, I believe, after rolling. And then I was able to take them all on 2-up save. So I managed to save them all, and that was a surprise to everyone. But it really helped. And they'd taken the bait, and because of that, he'd also got close to my other bikes with all the melter. He'd got close to the Rough Riders with their melter bombs. So that Land Raider was exposed. The Wave Serpent had moved forward the full 12, so it couldn't disembark yet. The bikes had zoomed around a bit, and the crucial thing here was the command squad with the Flamers. They were shot at by the big Paladin squad. I went to ground just to get some cover saves against some of them, and then I managed to save those, including with the Feel No Pain. And then he tried his charge. It was a 3-inch charge, and of course he rolled a double 1. So that was a crucial turning point there, because it meant that whole command squad, was basically untouched throughout the entire game. And we knew we were having a good time of it when by turn 2 we had lost 1 biker in the entire army. So things were going crazy well. At this point the other command squad came in. I used the Auspex to reduce the Wave Serpent's Jink save. I fired the melters in the back so it couldn't use its shielding. Managed to blow it up. Everything piled out, and I had loads of templates arranged around it. Fired everything into the Wraith Guard. Just wiped out the Wraith Guard, so it was only the Farseer left. And then charged it with my Warlord. And managed to kill that, so I got Slay the Warlord. Took out easily the scariest unit on the board, which was nice. We ignored the Paladins for this. Fired into the Land Raider and managed to get it down to 1 hull point. But then the Rough Riders charged in and managed to finish it off. So all those guys were taken out as well. And other than that, we finished killing the jet bikes until there was one left. And by this point, there was very little left on the table on their side. Their reserves rolls came in, and basically the Terminator squad that was left didn't come in. Both of the flyers didn't come in, apart from the Exarch flyer, and that's the only thing that came in. So they did very little as well. We killed the bike, the last jet bike. We killed, well, basically we killed the flyer, and then the rest of the time was just whittling down all the Terminators, which got into combat and that kind of thing. Took a while, but we managed to take them all out eventually. The hardest thing to kill was the Paladin squad, but we finally got through to that Apothecary, because even though he's failing his 2-up saves, it was the 4-up Feel No Pain that was really saving him. So we managed to get through that, and then finally we started whittling them down, and they eventually killed the Blob squad in combat, thanks to Gate of Infinity. But we just had so many templates and so much shooting just going at these guys that, you know, we were able to kill them all eventually. And it was a complete whitewash in the end. We basically took them down, so there was only one flyer left. Our final objective on turn 7 was to destroy a flyer, which was kind of funny because we had no Skyfire. So we were just throwing everything we could, bolter shots, grenades, anything that could hurt this flyer at this flyer. And it came down to the very last shot, and we finally managed to destroy it. So that was pretty cool, and in the end we finished with 26 points, no, 27 points actually, which is a lot. So yeah, one of my highest scoring games. Not my highest scoring game, but one of them. And a good thing to get in a tournament like this. So yeah, we came third overall. That was a very in-depth thing, but what did we learn from this? What I learned was that with a lot of long-range support, you know, you don't have to worry about your backfield. You can go forward. You can seize the objectives. You can basically just cause chaos, and most people will focus on the things that are doing all the damage rather than the backfield. But you know, it helps when things work out, of course. The other thing is that in Maelstrom, always go for the points, even if it means you're not going to kill anything and you're going to potentially lose a squad. Go for those points, because the points are the most crucial thing in winning the game. And the other thing to bear in mind is when you do this, try and maximize your defenses. Like, for instance, with the command squad in that last game, it was very likely they were going to be charged, and I wouldn't be able to overwatch the Terminators as they came in because I'd gone to ground. But I didn't have to go to ground. I could have just tried the Feel No Pain. But as it was, I wanted to stack as much defense as possible, so I went to ground, so I had a 5-up cover save because of night fighting, and that really helped protect them from any shooting. And as it turned out, they didn't lose any people in that squad at all, so it went well. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, is if you go forward and do your best to just make it as difficult as possible to kill your units. I mean, they have to devote so much to it. I mean, the worst firepower a single unit took was against the Tyranids and the Tau, and that was against the Chapter Master unit, and they poured basically their entire army's firepower into that unit. Took the Chapter Master down to 1 wound, took the biker down, the bike squad she was with, to 1 bike left. And after that, the bikes later on died, but all that from a single turn shooting. But they'd used their entire army to do that. And of course, with It Will Not Die, the Chapter Master was regaining wounds anyway, so it really helps in that sense. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Doubles tournaments are pretty hectic and messy, I will say that. But I did enjoy playing the list. I knew it was a strong list to start with because I've used it before in competitive games. Obviously it had a bit more power boost this time with Chapter Master instead of Captain. As it is, the Chapter Master upgrade did actually help us out quite a lot. I would say for most games that wouldn't be true, because you'd have other things on the board as well. My favourite units for my partner's army had to be the Rough Riders, who basically earned about 8 times their points back over the course of the tournament and secured us several victory points due to their speed. The Sentinel as well scored us a few points and did well with its autocannon. So I was quite happy with that. And you know, when people were shooting at them, who cares? The Wyvern did about as well as you'd expect. And everything else about the same as you'd expect, really, for Imperial Guard. So not too bad. Favourite ones in my army had to be the Chapter Master, of course, and the Land Speeders, which again did amazingly well at just being a nuisance. I think I only lost 1 Land Speeder throughout the tournament because people didn't want to shoot at them, but that meant they were free to basically just roam around and burn infantry and even transports. They can wreck transports pretty well because, you know, they're auto hitting, so you just need those 5s to glance and they don't get any cover saves, so that's nice. But yeah, that's basically it. So hopefully I haven't rambled on too long and it's boring for you. That's going to be it for my Space Marines for a while. I will have some Space Marine tactical videos coming soon. But from now on I'm mainly going to be focused on Sisters again because I've got another tournament coming up in just over 2 weeks. This is a singles tournament, so I'll have a road to tournament video for that coming up soon. So thanks for watching. See you next time.